Hi, it's Luke at Evans Model Shop, and today we're going to do something special, to me anyway, and unbox Kyosho's new Mad Crusher 4-wheel drive, solid axle, 8-scale, nitro-powered monster truck. Now this latest generation of Kyosho's Mad series is descended from the original Mad Force solid axle monster truck that was released in 2002. Up until 1999, every nitro monster truck you were going to find, and most of them were nitro, were based on modified 8-scale buggy platforms. Offna, Kyosho, other manufacturers back then used to supplement their income from race cars by using those race car platforms, slapping a couple extra sets of shocks on them, bigger tires, and mass marketing them as like a real rugged, fast, powerful monster truck. And needless to say, being derived from 8-scale race buggy architecture, they had 4-wheel independent suspension. Now, in the early 1999 it was, the T-Max came along and just blew that scene up and turned it on its head. Everybody had to have a T-Max. It was the only monster truck anybody was buying for a while there. So in 2002, instead of trying to copy Traxxas's vibe, Kyosho released the Mad Force original. And the Mad Force monster truck featured solid axles front and rear, but they were 2-linked, and there are some other changes that have happened since. So let's get into this and see what we're dealing with. There's the box art right there. Looks pretty cool. I'm digging the old school, like 1970s Ford style body that it has. Forget this. Let's just get into here and see what we're dealing with. Oh yeah, that's cool looking. You're gonna see that nice candy apple red paint that the Mad Crusher has going on. Let's grab this out. We've got our transmitter here. That's a Kyosho Synchro transmitter, and it has their kind of signature inwardly canted steering wheel there, which is kind of like some people when they like to stand like this or whatever, you got a more natural, more ergonomic grip that they got on there if you're into it. So let's put that to the side. Here's the owner's manual, some stickers, quite a lot of literature to be had there. That's got a lot to do with this monster truck here. Pretty sweet. Got that, put that to the side here. Tool bag for us. Open-ended wrenches, cross wrenches, these little L-shaped kind of Allen wrenches here. There's our air filter and a glow plug igniter with a standalone power source that's going to be 2 alkaline cells in a parallel configuration. So that's double the operational time of that tool there if you need it. And a fuel bottle. Let's see, we got this cricket in here that I have not been able to get rid of, so my apologies for that, but I'm just going to try to work my way through it and not go crazy and tear the shop apart again, looking for him. And it is a him, because we all know he's looking for a lady cricket out there somewhere, so I wish he would go outside and do that. But anyway, let's get back to what we're doing here, alright? Lift this sucker up out of here, get rid of this box, and there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the new Kyosho Mad Crusher out and about in its natural habitat. Very cool, semi-transparent windows with like a nice sort of mid-dark tint on them. The bright work on the body is really nice looking, and if you look in the front, it actually has injection molded bright work. The headlights are ready to receive LEDs, and the lenses of the headlights has like some nice scale detail to them as well. The wheels and tires are really cool looking. So the wheels and tires on this are like more like mud bogger style sized wheels and tires as opposed to straight up monster truck. These are 2.2-inch wheels in like an old school 70s mag wheel style with 17mm hexes, which I think makes for a pretty cool look. It matches the look of the body really well. And I can't think of too many reasons to disagree with Kyosho's decision to go that route with the wheel styling. So I want to go ahead and take the body off here, and we'll see where we're at with that one right now. Body comes off, and there we are, folks. Put that one right there. Let's get this out a little bit. So one of the first things that sticks out to me right away as somebody who's familiar with the original Mad Force series of monster trucks is that Kyosho's decided to do away with the 2-link style suspension, and they've replaced it with a 5-link suspension. So that's 2 links on each side into the twin vertical plate chassis. The chassis here is a 3mm thick aluminum twin vertical plate. It's got these links coming off of here, and then in the front and in the rear both, going down to the axle and up to this outrigger on the frame, that's called a panhard bar. And that's going to keep your axle from straying left and right under abusive conditions. So that's a cool thing that they decided to make a panhard style suspension. It's a little more complicated than some of the 4-linked and 3-linked triangulated setups you're going to see, but it's still pretty cool. I dig it. And like I said before, the frame is nice and strong. Twin vertical plate, which is a design we're all familiar with. Very popular around the time the original Mad Series monster truck was designed. And it is 3mm aluminum. Well, let's have a look at the suspension here. Beyond the 5-link setup that we just talked about, these are 16mm bore, threaded body, relatively long travel suspension that it has considering the 5-link setup that it uses. And it has coated steel shock shafts. So they're not exactly unbendable, but they're going to prove to be pretty strong. I can tell by the diameter that we're not going to have too many problems with bending shocks. And like we talked about earlier, Kyosho is deriving all this stuff from their 8-scale architecture. So the stuff is going to be pretty resilient under heavy use. So on the drivetrain, what we've got here is a 3-speed. If you look there, Steve, we got this 3-speed automatic Paul-type transmission that uses a chain drive transfer case. So the transfer case goes down here to a dog bone type outdrive setup. And there's the front dog bone up to the front axle here and the rear. And for angles of departure that are, you know, any steeper than you're going to see from the stock setup, you can still get away with some pretty radical suspension setups because the outdrive notches are in so deep. That's like over a ½ inch deep there. So you see that the dog bone, it's got plenty of play in there, and it's all hardened steel. So you don't really have to worry too much about throwing dog bones, which is a nice feature. Alright, it's worth noting as far as the drivetrain of this is concerned that everything from front to rear, even the wheelie bar, is all shielded bearings. There's not a bushing in use on this entire truck, which is really nice, and obviously it's what you would come to expect from something of this quality level and like this price point, but just to point out that it does use full bearings. Let's see what we got here. Everything looks really nice on this one. So you got the body posts here, and they've integrated this kind of grab handle roll bar sort of setup for it. So if you do come down real hard, you're not going to trash the engine. And that brings us to the engine. The engine is a Kyosho KE25. They're nice, reliable, easy to tune motors, not too prone to overheating, and I think they look nice. It's a pull start, which is convenient for me, and since this includes a glow plug igniter in the RTR package, there's nothing that you're going to have to run out and buy because it's not equipped with an easy starter. The pipe is a one-piece tuned pipe, and it's tuned to the KE25 so that the power band is kind of optimized for the setup of the truck, the transmission that the truck uses. So the header here that you see is a sprung header with a round exhaust port on the KE25, and it's also a one-piece polished header, and I think it looks really nice. The fuel tank here is a 150cc fuel tank, so that'll keep you running for a while. And like with all nitro cars, if you decide you want to run a little longer, just throw a little bit of extra fuel in there, check your temperature, and you'll be good to go as always. And the clutch uses aluminum clutch shoes. So if you look right in there, of course you can't see them, but I'm sure they're very nice looking parts. And it's worth noting that Mr. Suzuki, who started Kyosho Corporation in 1963, one of his main contributions to the hobby was the modern centrifugal RC racing clutch. So there, without a doubt, any nitro vehicle you've ever owned uses some sort of variation of his original design. And since this is a Kyosho, I thought it was worth giving a shout out to Mr. Suzuki. So thanks to him wherever he is, because if it weren't for that gentleman, we would, I guess, still have tether cars or some sort of strange esoteric pressure plate clutch. But this guy got it figured out to do it simple, and it works. So I'm looking over this now, just kind of really getting a feel for the way it feels. It weighs in a little more than 9 pounds, but that's not too heavy for this. And something that I really like about it is that the layout of it is nice and sparse. And what I mean by that is, you know, with a lot of these modern CAD designed cars and trucks, you'll see everything's packed really tightly together, and you'll sometimes have to uninstall several different assemblies just to get to something that requires maintenance or replacement. With this, everything is very easy to access, and the fit and finish on it, of course, is exactly what you would come to expect from Kyosho. and they are in my book, especially when it comes to unique things like this. Super cool setup. They're one of the better manufacturers out there, and one of the true OGs in this industry, having released their first kit in 1970. I mean, that's almost a decade before anything in the United States was going on with any of the companies that we're familiar with, and these guys are still around and still making rad stuff. So we see the electronics here. I was about to flip it over, but there's your servo there. These are both Kyosho servos. Servo for your brakes, which are right here. There's the brakes going. It even makes a sound like a real truck. How do you beat that, right? And here's your steering servo right there. It's kind of pointed downwards, so the servo horn should be easy to access. Let's have a look at the servo horn. These are kind of famous for their interesting multi-bell crank steering assemblies. Some would say needlessly complex. I would say awesome, just for the fact that, like, why not? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of cool the way that they decided to do this servo orientation. Keeps the servo up and off of the axle assembly. A lot of these solid axle monster trucks, be they nitro or electric, the manufacturers choose to, for simplicity's sake, mount the servos down on the axle assemblies. Well, this keeps it up out of the way of that and helps the truck maintain a more scale appearance. Sorry about that, folks. The video cut out. So let's get right back to where we were over here with the Kyosho Mad Crusher. All right. So we had it turned over. We were going over the steering bell crank assembly here up in the front. So we've got all this covered. This is, I think, a pretty novel, pretty unique, and for those reasons, pretty cool steering setup that it has. Sure, it could be simpler, but simple is for other people to do. We're doing something different on this guy, and I can respect that because life's too short to just do what everybody else is doing, right? Cool to see a unique design. If you're kind of wondering about this right here, by the steering servo bell crank, that's a puke tube that comes from the top of the fuel tank here. So if you're filling up your fuel tank and you happen to miss your fuel tank fill hole or get fuel on the top of the tank, it goes right down this little chute right here and goes out the bottom of the truck so that you don't get fuel all over the place in your truck. So that's just another one of those little instances where Kyosho was planning ahead and trying to make things as easy as they could for the owners of their vehicles, which are, and this is a really good indication of what I'm about to say, some of the most impressive that are available on the market. Super solid quality, and I can't wait to break it in and get it running. And I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I've got a sneaking suspicion that if you made your way to this video to check out this truck, you might like 8 scale or even 10 scale nitro monster trucks. Let me know what's your favorite. Let me know how you got into them and what other trucks you might want to see in the future. I hope you dug the video, and thank you so much for joining us. Have a great one.